If you have any town hall questions that you want to make sure get covered tonight, please bring them to the basket. We want to make sure that we incorporate them, and if we don't get to incorporate it, at least follow up with you personally. So if you have a question you want that's a burning question, and then we'll give you another chance at the end to give us some more, of course. We'll get started in about a minute. Thank you. Larry's going to come around with the basket. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Natasha Adams, Superintendent of West Clermont. I feel like I've almost know everybody in the room, so I know we're all old friends. We're going to kick off tonight, as we do often in town halls, with just a little bit of background information from me. Then we will arrange the room so that we have a good max mix of people at the table so that we can have some really quality conversation tonight and you can get all your questions answered as we all dive deeply into financing our future and how fair school funding works. I will want to mention our Board of Education tonight. They really value everyone's voice. And moments like these, and especially in moments when the weather's not so great, it's not lost on us that you could be in a million other places, but you've chosen to be with us, and we really, really appreciate it. It's our goal to educate the community, to listen to the community, and to build great plans together, ultimately, is what we want. I know that we have several Citizens Advisory Commission members in the room, so if you want to wave your hand, and CAT team members, we have a few in the room. And I'll shout out PTO, even though I don't have the emblem up there. I know we have lots of PTO members in the room who are very invested in our school system. And that's right. I can't forget that we have athletic boosters and the band boosters that I cannot leave out. So our parent organizations certainly make a difference. I just don't have a great emblem for you guys up there. And then for our partner in education tonight, we have with us May Hanna from UC Clermont. So May, thank you also for being here. And I know that Dr. Tracy Ray is coming a little bit later with some pizza from, I don't know which partner is bringing it tonight. Oh, Pizza Hut, our partner tonight, our sponsor tonight. And I'll point out that Ryan Patton is here, the president of the board, so he would, feel free to introduce yourself to him, ask him questions, put him on the spot. No, I'm just kidding. To kick off this exercise today, I want to bring us to why we're here. And that it's all about our students. And so this is the most recent video release in the WC Strong series that was produced by our students from West Clermont High School and West Clermont Willowville Elementary. So take a look at this just to see the progress that we've made and see the possibilities that exist here in West Clermont.
Welcome to today's Warrior Way podcast. I'm Marin.
I'm Avery.
I'm Richie.
And I'm Emma.
On our podcast, we like to focus on leadership and the leadership skills that people use in their career.
4 fifth graders at Willowville Elementary are learning the art of podcasting, leadership, and communication skills thanks to an innovative partnership with high school teacher Brandy Kelton and 2 of her high school communication interns. Here's an excerpt from their latest episode with former Bengals quarterback John Kitna.
Stephen Coughlin notes the importance of the 7 habits of highly effective people. Be proactive, begin with the end in mind, put first things first, think win-win, seek first to understand, then to be understood, synergize, and sharpen the saw. How do these habits play out in the field?
Yeah, I mean, it's less of leadership in the NFL happens on the field as much as it happens off the field. Your leadership traits, the relationships you build, carry you when you get on the field. When people ask me about leadership, what do I think is most important is being who you are. You can't be someone else. People see right through that. You have to be very authentic. And then secondly, being a servant leader and trying to lift others up.
Now, let's hear from the students about their experience interviewing John Kitna.
It was really exciting, and not everybody gets to do some things like this. Even if you are famous, that doesn't mean that every part of your becoming famous was that, I guess, glamorous or I guess happy.
Well, when I was in the bus, I was very nervous and I was very jittery. But now that I've gotten done with the podcast, I now realize that it's not that bad anymore. I learned that he is a very normal person and that sometimes even the most highest people and the most famous people are still normal people.
Being part of the John Kitna episode was really fun. It was fun seeing the kids be super excited about it. They had a good time, and so did I.
This is our first group of students we've ever had come into the place, so this has been fantastic. I love their questions, and I don't know, there's something adorable about fifth graders interviewing this massive 6'5", 6'6" John. It was pretty funny to watch, but they asked great questions, and the answers we got were really fantastic, so it was a good time.
Let's take a step back and see how the podcast came to be what it is today.
So I emailed each elementary principal just saying, hey, I have a team of interns and we would like to help you. What do you want to do? And Mr. Jones replied back with he was interested in starting a podcast. And I said, awesome. I'd never done a podcast before or produced one, so it was just kind of a grassroots, just looking things up, getting some basic equipment, and it's gone really smoothly. I'm very happy with the partnership it's created, and I think that these fifth graders are going to have such great, they're so personable, and their communication skills are just awesome for being in fifth grade. So the elementary students and the high school students, I think they get a taste of what the real working world is like. For example, the high schoolers, they kind of come and go from school. That wasn't my high school experience, but they're treated like professionals.
When I first heard about the podcast class, I was most excited to explore something new. I mean, this is something that I've never done before. And especially when I found out that I would be working with fifth graders, because that is something that I am used to. So it was kind of, mixing something old with something new, and I was really excited about it.
These fifth graders, they're responsible for sending out the Google invites and calendar invites, just like we use as adults in the working world. These fifth graders are doing that as well. I remember when Mrs. Adams was our first guest, I said, well, you're gonna have to start checking your email now. And after they sent that first calendar invite to Mrs. Adams, Richie actually, he emailed me on a Saturday. So he was checking his email after hours, and he says, oh my gosh, she said yes. He was so excited that our superintendent had responded that she would be the first guest on his podcast.
The skills I've learned so far, mostly the 7 habits, and I've been working on eye contact, so I have that easier. And also I've been trying not to be as fidgety, because usually when I'm sitting still for a while, I just have to.
I enjoy mentoring these students because I think that it's something that they can use a lot in the future. Everybody knows our world is becoming more and more digital, and this class and teaching them these, learning how to use a camera, or even just talking to people that they don't know personally, helps them with a lot of skills in the future, and I really enjoy setting them up for that.
So Mr. Jones and I have already talked about next year, and the fifth graders that we'll have next year, we're going to pull them into the fold before the end of the year this year. That way, next year we can get started with having guests on the show faster, and so more episodes.
I would like the future to become more kids on this podcast and this podcast grow more, and for other people, for it to get more views and other people to know about the 7 habits.
To me, West Clermont Strong means all the individuals, whether it's people at the main office, our administrators, our teachers, our students. We all work together to highlight all the great things that are happening in our district, whether it's in the community or within a school building. And I think the part of that strong part too is sending students out, or adults out into the world that have these strong skills that we've helped build by all of these different experiences that wouldn't be possible without everybody working together and having such a strong team, especially at the leadership level.
What West Clermont Strong means to me is like all the new opportunities that there are at the school, that what other schools don't have. I think we have a lot more programs for kids to join in, have a better future.
West Clermont Strong means trying your best every day. I feel like a lot of the students here push themselves to go past their limits or what they think their limits are, to step out of their comfort zone, and it's something that I really enjoy, connecting with all of my peers and, hearing about what they're doing academically or socially to just step out and do something new.
If you're interested and want to watch the full episode of the Warrior Way podcast with guest John Kitna, follow the QR code on your screen.
So I will shout out to our partner John Lucas in the back, who works with our students and with our staff to bring some of these stories to life through video. So shout out to John, thank you. And I'm very proud to be able to say, with the theme of West Clermont Strong for 2025, that we're able to really elevate student voice, that we're able to celebrate programs like Leader in Me, which is an internationally known leadership development program that we've been able to bring to West Clermont through partnering with the Covey Foundation. And as you can see, this is a collaboration between elementary school and high school. And so it's just another symbol of how we are pushing boundaries beyond the walls of the classroom to bring real learning to life. And so we're extremely proud of this and want to be able to continue it. As you can see from this screen, we are a school district on the rise, and the state of Ohio measures us by stars. And so the highest you can get is 5. We've been inching our way up. We have 4 stars now. We were very, very close to getting 4.5 stars. And there were some other, if you look under the hood and understand the data a little bit more, there are also some things to celebrate. We moved up about 64, we leapfrogged 64 school districts to get in this place. So this isn't, we had a lucky year. We are continuing to make movements, and leapfrogging 64 other school districts is not an easy feat. We're performing in the top 11% of the entire state when it comes to growth. And in Ohio, the state expects that everybody grows at least 1 year. This is showing that West Clermont is outgrowing that 1 year. We're going more than a year's worth of growth for our students. And obviously, we have catch up to do with our COVID kind of issues that kind of plagued the entire nation and world. But we've been showing that we can do that. And being in the top 11% in the state of Ohio is not an easy outcome to achieve. And what I want to point specifically out is, because it relates to our fair school funding and financing our future theme tonight, is that when I first came to West Clermont 7 years ago, we were spending in the bottom 3% of the state of Ohio, and that was per pupil. And we were performing then in like the bottom quarter of the state. And so I want to make a real connection tonight to where you put your investment dollars and then what outcomes you get. We've been able to move up a bit, so we are now still in the bottom. We're in the bottom 16% spending per pupil in the state of Ohio, but we are now performing in the top 40%. And so obviously I know many of us work here who are in this room today. None of us are settling and are happy with staying at the top 40%. We know we want more, we know we can do better, but in the short amount of time, the elevation and the return on that investment is incredible, and I'm so proud of the staff for that. And you can see we've gotten some awards based on all of those efforts. Tonight's slide deck is really a hodgepodge. You're going to find that these slide decks are pieces and parts of messages that we've said to groups like this, or we've shared at board meetings for the last 18 months. Because we've been in a journey since 2022, looking at the challenges of the district, educating and bringing people along so that we can paint the picture of what this community wants their schools to be. So when you see them mismatched slides, just know that any information up here is probably part of probably a 20 slide deck story, and then we can go further. What I want to point out is where we are now. We are at a place where our results are rising. We are seeing better outcomes across the entire system. And we are seeing our culture of engagement. When I first came here, events and elevating staff voice and student voice and community voice wasn't part of the culture, and we've worked really hard to change that story. Also, we know what's true right now is that your home address determines what kind of learning environment you have in West Clermont. And there are disparities. And that's why we're here to talk about this ballot issue then that the board has put on the ballot for May 6th of 2025 so that the community will have a voice to say what kinds of schools and what kind of community that they want. Because ultimately, based on the board's vision, we want to be a destination district. We want to be a place that is preparing students to be future ready, not only prepared for something, but prepared for anything as they move on post-high school. And we want to ensure that there's a modern learning environment for all of our students. This graphic illustrates the facilities timeline. So just take a minute to see from our oldest building, 1960, West Clermont Middle School, all the way to 2020, this renovated school that we are sitting in today. What I want to point out is, I've used this metaphor this year, is that if you look at the school district as the Jeep, because we're blazing new trails, we want a pathway for every student. If you look at us as symbolically this Jeep, it's important that we align 4 tires. Those tires represent our learning model. We can't be teaching in ways of the past. We have to modernize our educator workforce. We've got to upskill and have the knowledge and abilities that we need to prepare students to reach portrait of a graduate outcomes. We have to align our learning environment so that they are flexible and appropriate to help us personalize the kind of learning that we want to bring to our students. And we have to modernize our partnerships. So all 4 of those tires have to be in line if we're going to live out what we've developed as a school community together, our strategic vision and plan. And yet we have 1 tire that has an issue, and it's all these buildings that are listed above that blue line. We have Merwin Elementary, 1969, Holly Hill, 1982, and they're not meeting the needs of today's learners. Under the blue line, you see great results. You see amazing progress that has happened in the school district over the last several years. And so I just want to give you a reminder of that timeline as we will dig into all this evening. With our facilities, some of the challenges that we talked about in town hall settings like this is the fact that we have the largest middle school in the state of Ohio. It has the earliest start time of any middle school, and it poses many challenges daily for that staff as that building was designed for high school students. And when you have that many students going into an environment that wasn't necessarily designed for them, new challenges kind of emerge every day. The campus itself is an obstacle. And it's time that we take a look at that. We also, in our discovery, looked at the resources and how we deploy them across the school system. We have an elementary, kindergarten through 5th grade, that has 240 students in their school, all the way up to an elementary that has 800. And so when you look at small to big, you really start to question, how are you able to deploy those resources, and how are you able to meet everybody's needs in a highly effective way? So those were 2 of the big conversations, along with what I mentioned earlier about the students' home address determines the kind of learning environment that they have in West Clermont. So those are some of conceptual, just challenges that we were talking about. And then this gets into a little bit more specifics as it relates to the ages of our buildings, the fact that we are running out of space, the fact that we have an increased population in high-need students that require different kinds of facilities and different kinds of accommodations, and that some of our career ed kinds of classrooms don't match and create more issues to be able to deliver the curriculum well because it's not the right kind of space for our students. We have a hard time. I remember going to WT. I had about 20 people with me, and we were trying to find a place for a meeting. There wasn't room in the front conference room. We couldn't use the cafeteria, and we couldn't use the gym. And so we ended up, all 20 of us were like in a hallway because there was literally not a room just for a meeting. So it's small things like this. As I was starting today, I was talking to one of the paraprofessionals who works here at Clough. And the story is they were doing some pull out here in the cafeteria. And if you don't know, right behind this is the music room. And so the student was tapping his toes, snapping his fingers, going along with the music because of just the proximity. And so she was trying to get him to focus, and he was having a really hard time because of the music. Those kinds of things happen, but there was literally just nowhere else in the building that they could go. And so that flexibility that we need to serve various learner needs is strapped here at Clough Pike and many of our other schools as well. So what have we been doing? We've been working hard to hear what the community wants, what they see as the challenges, what matters to them. We've done building tours, we've done town halls, surveys. We've invested in groups like the Citizens Advisory Commission who could look at what is the design and purpose of school? After COVID, we all thought, well, schools are going to forever be changed. But we all know, just like in anything, when you stretch that rubber band, what wants to happen? The rubber band just wants to go right back in place. And I don't know, did it really change as much as we always thought? And we wanted to talk about when schools were feeding and clothing and providing technology and education and mental health supports, they were doing all these things. Is that the core job of schools? Is that the thing that's most important? So that's why we commissioned the Citizens Advisory Team to come together to say, really, what is our point? And what they decided our main point is that we are here to make sure that kids are future ready. We are not here to clothe and feed and do all the things that we do. That's really for our partners. And we want to have really strong partners to do that, but we can't take on that responsibility. That's not our expertise. And we also talked about during our Citizens Advisory time that if you're going to prepare kids to be future ready, you can't just be in the four walls of a school, that there has to be experiences beyond the wall that bring it to life. We formed our Citizens Advisory Commission, I have all these terms, the CAT team, the Community Advisory Team, who formed after a series of facility town halls. It was a come one, come all. Anybody who wanted to be a part of the team were welcome to be part of the team. And there was a lot of great brainstorming and plan development through their process. So here are just some highlights. You'll see up there on the counter, and not that the details matter, but you see all that busyness of all the teams working together, trying to inch toward the ultimate goal, which is to present a plan to the Board of Education. What they focused on when they came together as a CAT team was what was valued in the West Clermont community, what mattered most as it came to our facilities. And so you'll see some of those words: safety, fiscal responsibility, schools being at the center of our community, making sure there's community conversation, that this isn't just a school district decision or a top-down decision. Equitable, high-quality education. So you could see here in this value that it wasn't just about brick and mortar, it's about what happens inside of that brick and mortar. So we can't just have beautiful buildings and not be transforming what's going on inside of them. We have to have innovative education and invest in the future of our district and have a sound infrastructure. So those were the values that were identified. And then as the community, the staff, and our parents were surveyed, there were just some highlights. What we learned from this is that in West Clermont, neighborhood schools, vitally important to the community. That moving 5th grade out of the elementary wasn't a deal breaker, that made sense to people as a way to deal with our space issues. We learned that people preferred elementaries being about the size of 600, that seemed like the sweet spot. And finally, there was kind of split results always about preschool, whether it be one site, multiple sites, in just a few buildings, and so that was always just kind of all over the place, and I think it has to do with people just not knowing what they prefer, because maybe it doesn't pertain to them. And then finally, families want minimal time to travel. So those are some of the things that the CAT team learned that they used as they went into their brainstorming. And if you were in one of those meetings, you had a blank sheet that looked just like this, where you could design any configuration in the world. I think we ended up with about 25 configurations that got narrowed down to the point where the CAT team brought a proposal to the Board of Education in August. And their proposal, where it started, was to build a new Holly Hill, a new Merwin, and to have, although it shows on there preschool at 3 sites, the CAT team kind of just said, you guys decide. You guys know what's best. You decide where it goes. They recommended a 5-8 building, but the idea here was not to have a replication of West Clermont High School down the street. It was to have the building come together as one building, connect where we could be efficient, but it was designed to be 2 smaller environments, so that we were no longer the largest middle school in the state of Ohio, but we are creating more intimate environments, serving better the young adolescents that go in those schools. So this is where their proposal started. And the Board of Education, they accepted this plan. We're like, we like where this is going, but we need the administrative team to vet it. So we were asked to look at what are the educational implications of such a plan and such a change? What were the financial implications? What were the operational implications? And so I'm going to hit some of those really quickly now to show you how we ended up not fully going with the CAT plan, although it helped us get where we needed to go. We learned that that plan wasn't really going to solve all of our challenges, and there was a little bit more work to do. So I'm going to hit those quickly. You may have heard we are one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Ohio, and I am getting a lot of feedback like that I see out there on social media about the people being mad at the schools because our community is growing. And what we're trying to do is respond to that growth. But so I'm hoping that we can continue to educate our community on where that information comes from, why we're changing, and what the leaders of our community have to say about that. We also have predicted growth. In our predictive models that Dr. Fultz brings to the board every November and every May has served us very well when it comes to planning. What we're seeing is by 2033, up 1,600 students, and it'll be about 1,300 in the next 3 years, or by 2030, sorry. I won't get into all the charts and spend a lot of time on this, but quickly what you can see is that the cohort model, the people who are in the schools aren't growing dramatically. We're not having families like start to produce a whole lot more children. What we are seeing is that people are moving in based on the predictions that with the new developments that are coming. And that growth together is how we get to these increases. You'll see here that we're running out of space in the elementaries. And so there are things you can do, like increase class size, put art on a cart, music on a cart, all those kinds of things. You can add modulars like we have at Merwin. There's lots of little things that you can do that get you so far. And then there has to be some long-term decisions. This I'll quickly go through, but it highlights what Mr. LaFada's team, working with the Ohio Facilities Commission and all of the vendors who help us price out what things will cost in the future, shows you projections. When I flip through every slide, when we get to the end, we end up with about $64 million worth of repairs and things like modulars to be added everywhere. Ends up being $64 million. So you see, this is what we have for the HVAC and electrical, the roofing costs, and this is to focus just mainly on Merwin, Holly Hill, and the middle school. Obviously, schools like Clough and Willowville and Summerside might have some things that they need along the way too, but this just focuses on the 3 oldest. The asphalt costs that are projected over the next 5 years. The plumbing. And that we always know with plumbing, you get behind the walls and then you learn more. So those are just great estimates, though, to give us an idea that operationally, to get these buildings functioning at a higher level, even though that's not what's recommended by the Ohio Facilities Commission, but to do it, it would have that kind of price tag on it. So in evaluating all these costs, looking at it educationally, looking at it operationally and financially, what we ended up doing is bringing back an updated version to the Board of Education. And you'll see that based on our share that we have with the Ohio Facilities Commission, they'll be paying 20%, and that leaves our community with 80% if this were to be successful. So the total cost of the project is about $193.1 million. It's the most efficient plan that had been brought forward because what it does is it reduces from 7 elementaries to 6 elementaries, and it builds the one middle school on the middle school campus that houses both an intermediate school as well as a middle school. And then there are some district-wide updates, and I'm gonna, I think I might have deleted those. I'll just review them here. We plan for everybody to benefit out of this project, and so there will be updates district-wide for safety and security, technology, as well as targeted furniture updates. We don't plan to broad sweep put furniture everywhere because obviously we've had plenty of upgrades over the last couple years. This would be targeted spaces that need it. We would add a media center to Clough, and if you're confused about what that means, you can go out of here on your way out and see the media center is in the middle of the hallway right now, and it got converted into a classroom. So Clough really doesn't have a media center, that's why it's on there. We have renovations to the media center or library at Amelia and WT planned to bring them up to the level of like where Summerside and Willowville are. And the whole point behind that is that no longer is a library just a place where there are books. So I know we have our friend from the library here this evening, and we can talk about how Clermont County Library System has continued to evolve. There's technology, there's maker spaces, there's all kinds of things that elevate not only literacy and the love of reading and learning, but making and creating, high tech, and innovation. We have additions planned for Clough Pike Elementary, so some additions here, some additions at WT as well. And did I leave anything? I think I got it all. So those would be the updates that would ultimately solve all the issues of West Clermont and would right-size our buildings in that all the elementaries would be more of the same size so that we can maximize our resources and we'll have operational efficiencies up the road. So I created this graphic today just to give another way of looking at it. I know I've got it needs some tweaking, but just trying to show the story of that there is something in this plan for everybody. And the whole goal is to change the learning experiences, not based on where you live, but to create something that everyone can have advantage and take advantage of. Now, this timeline, I have the timeline in 2 different ways. I'm going to share it with you first because if any kindergarten parents in here by any chance? Okay, so the kindergarten babies that we have in our school system right now, based on this plan, they would be the first 5th graders to walk through that new building. So just to give you a sense of like how long things take and how fast things can move. So our kindergartners would be the first 5th graders to open a school in 2029. If we were to pass in May, if we are successful, we will immediately begin planning for the Clough Pike edition and the WT edition so that we don't have to add modulars, that we'd be able to deal with the growing population through those means. And we would open that in 25, 26. No, 26, 27. I said the wrong thing. You guys listening to me enough to know that I said the wrong thing? Chuck, Dan? No one's even looking at me. It's not, it's not next year, because next year would be a planning year. That would be the following year. So is that, okay, all right, thanks. It all starts to run together after a while. This graphic I like a little bit better, even though it's showing the same information. This shows you here in green that this is when the bulk of the enrollment is going to change. So this tells us, pass or fail, we're having kids come through the door. And we're gonna have to have some action steps associated with it. Many of them we're doing now, we would have to grow them at a larger scale. So it's not like this enrollment is like far, far away. It's like the bulk of it's gonna come in the next 3 years. You'll see by 2030, we'll have additional 1,300 students. If we get those classes done at WT and Clough, that allows us to not have to add modulars or do too many mitigations because we can kind of make it work for a year, squeeze in, be creative, until we can get to a place where there's a permanent opportunity and we shift the population a little bit to go with that. Then we plan for the long term, opening up the pre-K 4 building, which doesn't have a location yet, by the way. That's undecided at this time. We have property in the school district. One site could be the middle school. One site could be Holly Hill. There's Merwin Elementary. So there are sites to choose from. We just haven't made a choice yet because we want to design and pick the very best location that's the most effective and efficient in our district. So that school would open at the same time the 5, 6, and 7, 8 would open in 2029. And so that's why you hear in our voice urgency a lot, because the least expensive this plan is ever going to be is today. And those costs are going to continue to rise. And whether we're investing in a long-term facility option or we are patching and repairing, dollars are going to go to that cause. And you heard me earlier, $64 million. Obviously, that wouldn't be spent at one time, but it's the uncertainty. And it's the fact that when dollars go into facilities and patch and repairing things, where does it go away from? Classroom, staffing, teaching, student experiences. So here's the list. I have mentioned a couple of them. These are the kind of short-term mitigations that we are currently making, but then would have to just scale over time. And the goal for us is to try to ensure that these short-term mitigations don't become the long-term solutions, because the longer they are the choices and the longer we put off a long-term plan, the more this becomes the reality. So you end up with a modular that's less secure than buildings where you have a secure vestibule. Things like that. Are things to consider and to think about. Class sizes go up. We look at kindergarten. Right now, we provide full-day kindergarten in West Clermont for no additional fees. And that's rare. Most schools around us are providing some kind of fee for that. We're only required to do half-day kindergarten. So we could get rooms back immediately by having kindergarten be a half-day kindergarten. But this is where, and why we're here having this conversation tonight is like, there can be all kinds of ideas that could be good ideas, but there's a consequence to everyone. So right now, kindergarten students, when they come into West Clermont School District, half of them are ready for kindergarten, according to the state of Ohio. The other half are not. So we are starting climbing up a hill. And so and that's with us having them full day. So imagine when that got cut in half, like what the impact would be. What would that do to our overall results over time? So these are hard conversations, but things I want to put on the table, not as threats, not as anything, but just to educate, to say, if you were superintendent, you would have to sit and think about all these things, and maybe you would come up with even some more, and I hope you do, and share them with me. So that's kind of a walk down memory lane where we've been over the last 18 months, how we got to the point where we shared with the Board of Education the new plan that I just shared with you. They voted on it unanimously in January for us to move forward and put something on the ballot in May. And it is my job and Dan's job just to spend our time educating the community. We're not here to advocate, we're here just to inform, to make sure that everyone knows what are the options in front of us, what are the consequences of our decisions, and continue to engage in moments like this so that we can stay together, because our vision, together as one community, we learn, lead, and succeed. This is not just something for a superintendent to do. This is all of us to work together to solve. So at this time, I know, Dan, you want to have them get some food while you... Okay, Dan's going to do the one slide first, and then we'll get into the activity where there's more conversation.
So, good evening. Thanks for coming out on kind of a snowy night, too. So I just wanted to do this one slide to connect, connect this slide with the pieces that the superintendent did. And so one of the things that the board took into consideration, given the needs that we have and the solution from the recommendation that the CAT team came up with, is how do we fund this, okay? And basically it's being funded by the state 20% and locally 80%. But that's step one. Then you got to get to how are we going to look at that locally. Traditionally, when you go for buildings, for bricks and mortar, for infrastructure, for any capital improvement, it's a bond issue. And so the one consideration that the board looked at with this is if we did a bond issue, approximately $154 million, and we did that on a traditional property tax, okay, what type of millage would that be? And so we go through a process and get an estimate from the county auditor. They let us know, and it would be about 3.74 mils on today's valuations, okay? Over time on the bond issue, that millage goes down, but the dollar amount pretty much stays the same to the taxpayers. You drop down to the bottom. The other route that could be looked at is a school district income tax, and that is a little bit different than a municipal tax. A school district income tax is on the residents of that school district, okay? So regardless of where they work, okay, it's the residents. So if I live in West Clermont, but I work outside of West Clermont, would you pay the earned income tax? Yes. If I work in West Clermont, but I live in another school district, no, you do not pay that school district income tax. So the key on the school district income tax is the residency, okay, where you're at, okay? One of the things that the administration, the superintendent, and the Board of Education did before they made a decision was listen to what people were saying. And admittedly, the valuation, the reappraisal that occurred in 23, collected in 24, was a significant increase like several other counties throughout the state. We recognize that, we see that, and trust me, we heard about it, okay? That is a real thing, okay? Did the district get additional revenue? Yes, we did, okay? No question about it. We don't hide behind that. Partly why we can push the levy on the operating funds, where in 2020, they said that that levy would last through 24. We're able to push that, we know, into 26, and we're doing our best to push it out farther than that, too, into 27 if we can. Okay, so we did listen. The differences between a property tax and the school district income tax is also who pays, okay? So if you go straight with a school district income tax, it's the residents. It is homeowners, it is people that live in apartment complexes and other type of facilities, but you're a resident, okay? On the property tax, okay, it is property owners. So not only homeowners, okay, but agricultural property owners, commercial, industrial, and public utility, okay? But those last four that I said, they don't pay, those entities, they do not pay on the school district income tax. So taking all that in consideration, okay, and listening, okay, the board looked at doing a combined property tax at 1.76 mils and then a school district earned income tax at 0.25% mils. And the reason I kind of paused and emphasized earned is because a school district can do two types of school district income tax. It can do one on adjusted gross income, which means all income to that resident or household, okay? Or it can do an earned income tax, which is primarily wages. So it would not include Social Security. It would not include earnings on investments. It would not include child support and other income that is not earnings from wages, okay? So it is an earned income tax. So just want to try and connect the dots on why the combined tax, i.e. an earned income tax and a property tax. A question that's coming up, okay, is people say, well, am I getting taxed twice, okay? And so, you know, the answer to that one is, well, what we did was, when you looked at the cost of what the need is, the local share, 154 million over the 193.1, okay? If it were a property tax, it'd be double, okay? The millage on the combination, if you look at just the sold earned income tax, it would be double of that. So it's the way of spreading that out so all the stakeholders can contribute to what's being trying to put together, and that's some of the rationale where the board settled on that combined property and earned income tax, okay? There is on your tables, and you can hold up that yellow grid right there. There you go. So one of the things that, there it is. One of the things that people also ask is, well, what's the impact to me? whether I'm a resident or I'm a property owner or I'm both. Okay, what does it mean? And so what we tried to put together, we have that out there on the website. We will get a calculator out there. So the calculator that we'll end up putting on the website will ask really for two pieces of information. What do you believe the household earned income is, and what's your property value, okay? And given that, it will give you that result of what you can expect. The combined earned income tax and property tax would cost that resident and or property owner with it. If you look at the grids that are on the table, it's just a simple 2x2 matrix of, okay, what do I believe my earned income is? If I own property, what's the value of that property, and where those crosshairs meet? Okay, that's what that total is, okay, to do that. So we just have that out there to do that. So now what we're going to do, okay, is I think eat some pizza, and then when we come back, I may split up to just, I'll take account of the people, but we may split up to 4 tables, okay, with facilitators. We will then go through the tabletop exercise, which is called Financing Our Future. It is really looking at our stakeholders. Where do we get our money from? How do we spend our money? Okay, and what's the purpose of investing into public education to do that? Why do we do this as a tabletop exercise? Okay, and I think what you'll see is what we try and provide is the same data and information that board members get, that administrators get to make some of the decisions and really make some hard decisions that we need to do. So given that information, put you through that similar experience of what needs to be done. Okay? So why don't we give
Yeah, we'll do like
a
a
break?
little 10-minute break, get everyone situated. There's cookies, water, pizza, help yourself, and then we'll get going on that exercise.
Okay, if we could get back at our tables, and then part of what you want to do is, it's okay to go ahead and eat at the table, but we want to clear some of the paper off of the visual that's at the center of your table, okay? And so what we'll do is if you're at this table over here, if you want to move over to one of these 4 tables, that would help out, okay? All right. So to kind of set this up, okay, I already told you kind of the topical areas we're going to talk about. So could the facilitators at each table raise your hand? Who's the facilitator? Okay? So what these people are going to be doing, okay? These people have 3 roles tonight, okay? So what the 3 roles are is they have a series of instructions and questions that they will be reading, okay? And you will really help them out if you participate by answering those questions on what you think, what you know, what you believe, okay? That's really they're asking. This is not a test on anything. It's really giving you some data and information, then asking you a question on it. All right, the second thing that they will be doing is there are some card decks or placemats or exercises to be done. They'll kind of manage that with you, okay? All right, the third thing that they will be trying to do is get you to participate. And sometimes that's the toughest job, so I just need you to help them out with that, okay? All right, and so have a conversation, a dialogue at the table. The exercise should be about 50 to 55 minutes. What I'll do is try and keep track of time up here and let you know when you should be moving from section A to section B to C, etc. Okay, and Joe, are you doing this table? Yes. All right, Joe's going to go up there. So, first of all, make sure everybody introduce themselves at the table, and then after they do that, we'll let the facilitators take over. Okay? Thank you. So why don't we go ahead and depending where you're at, kind of jump to that last question that's there and spend about 2 or 3 minutes on the very last question. Okay, so that I can get you home, we did ask Angie if she did clean the cars off, but she didn't do that yet. Okay. So there is at each of the tables, there's a stack of a form that's called Town Hall Exit Survey and Feedback. If everybody could get one of those and go ahead and fill those out, okay, to do that. And while you're filling those out, the last question that you discussed at the table was, what's the story, right? What's the story you see? What's the story you hear? So can I just have 1 or 2 people maybe share it with the whole group to see? Anybody?
We've got tough decisions to make.
Okay, we got tough decisions. Yeah, we do. Thank you. That's good. What else? What's the story? What's the story here? What would you say?
I think that the school district has been incredibly successful at managing money. They have shown fiduciary responsibility in spending less money per student than most in the state with better results.
So we're spending it wisely and we're getting the results.
So, well, according to the charts, yes. $3,300 is what we figured out.
Yeah, which ends up being like $40,000 a classroom.
Right.
Per year. Significant.
And that's something I think you guys should really be pitching hard. That you're spending $3,300 less per student and getting better results. You're doing something right.
I do think hearing that number, 17%, is a lot. I can hear it a lot. More is less. So the dollar amount, right? There's a couple $1,000 really made it hit home.
Yeah, when you look per pupil, it's $1 amount, but all of a sudden you think about a class of between 20 and 25, and you multiply that out, and you say, geez, there was a good question over here. Someone said, what are they doing, or what are they spending it on that we're not, right? I think someone asked that question. And when you look at each of those categories, specifically, if you look at instruction, forget the total dollar amount. If you just look at the instruction category, and that's specifically in the classroom, right? So to do that.